Kickforge is a new sound design tool for quickly creating unique kick drums in any genre of music. The Kickforge interface is fully automatable and includes individually selectable attack and subsamples that you can combine to create over 2,900 unique kick drum combinations. In addition to the electronic and acoustic samples available in the plugin, Kickforge features a set of built-in mixing tools such as EQ, compression, and transient shaping, all finely tuned specifically for mixing your perfect kick sound. Kickforge was created to be your one-stop shop for creating any kick drum you could ever dream of, regardless of genre. Let's take a look at how it works. When you first open the plugin, you'll notice a modern and clearly labeled interface to help you build your kick drums. This plugin is broken into 4 unique sections: the low section on the left, the high section on the right, and the mix section in the center, and the effects section, which is accessed using the effects button at the bottom of the plugin window. There's also a full settings menu accessible by clicking on the Kickforge logo at the top of the plugin window. We'll start on the left side of the plugin with the low section. At the top of this section, you'll find your subsample selection menu. This menu allows you to select a subsample from a collection of both acoustic and electric sample options. Clicking on the dice icon will shuffle your samples, which will choose a new subsample option at random each time that you press it. Directly below the subsample selection menu, you'll find a polarity switch. This is used for flipping the polarity of your low sample. This can be helpful in situations where you want to change the phase relationship with the high sample. To the right of the polarity switch is your sustain knob, which controls the amount of sustain in your subsample. Turn the knob to the right when you want more sustain and to the left when you want less. Working our way down, we've got our low pass filter, which will filter out upper frequencies from your sample. All the way to the right is considered no filtering, while turning the knob all the way to the left will roll off the maximum amount of higher frequency content. Lastly, in the subsection of the plugin, there's a harmonics switch. This switch is used to add harmonics to the selected subsample. Some mix engineers choose to enable this switch, then use the low pass filter to mix the harmonics to taste. Jumping over to the right side of the plugin, we've got the high section. At the top of this section, you've got your top sample selection menu. This menu allows you to select your top sample from a collection of both acoustic and electric sample options. Clicking on the dice icon will shuffle your samples, selecting a drum sample at random each time you press it. Beneath the top sample selection menu, you'll find your sustain knob, which controls the length of your top sample sustain. Turn the knob to the right when you want more sustain and to the left when you want to keep it shorter. Below the sustain knob, you'll find a high pass filter for your top sample. Turned all the way to the left, the high pass filter will allow the entire frequency range of your sample to come through. As you increase the high pass filter by turning the knob to the right, low and mid-range frequencies will be filtered out of your top kick sample. This can be a great way to sculpt the mid-range of your kick sound. At the bottom of this section, there is a switch for enabling or disabling the one-shot mode. By default, this switch is disabled, causing the plugin to operate in round-robin mode, using alternating samples for fast playing. In more aggressive genres, a more consistent sampled sound may be desired, in which case one-shot mode should be enabled by toggling the switch on. This will cause the same sample to get triggered with every single hit. It is important to note that only the acoustic samples have this feature, as the electronic samples are one-shots only. When an electronic top sample is selected, the one-shot switch is automatically disabled. Moving over to the center section of the plugin, you'll find the features that really start to tie things together. At the top are 2 buttons, a user preset load button to the left and a user preset save button to the right. These will enable you to store and recall any combination of samples and settings that you come up with. Below these buttons brings us to your preset selection menu, allowing you to choose from mix-ready combinations curated by Drumforge. Selecting an option from this menu will overwrite any current sample selections on either side of the plugin and settings throughout. Clicking on the dice icon on the right will choose a preset from the menu at random. In the middle of your center section, you'll find your mix knob, which controls the balance between the level of your subsample and the level of your top sample. By default, this knob is set to 12 o'clock, which equates to both samples playing back at equal levels. As the mix knob is turned from its 12 o'clock position, the balance level of the sub and top samples will change depending on which direction you're turning the knob. More sub and less top will be heard when the mix knob is moved to the left, and more top and less sub will be heard when the mix knob is moved to the right. Turning the mix knob all the way in either direction will play only the sample that it has been turned towards. Below the mix knob, you've got 3 buttons for keeping track of the input to the plugin. The MIDI listen button on the left will wait for the next MIDI note played and map the plugin to trigger on that note automatically. The MIDI note indicator in the center will show you what note the plugin is currently mapped to. Clicking on this indicator will allow you to select a new note from the menu. On the right, you've got a MIDI reset button to set the plugin back to its default note trigger. Beneath your MIDI controls is your meter, providing a visual display of the levels leaving the plugin. These levels can be controlled by the master knob in the bottom right corner of the plugin. Kickforge also includes a pitch knob, allowing you to adjust the pitch of your kick sound up to 12 semitones up or down. Let's click the Effects button to jump over to our Effects section next. As you can see, the Effects section is broken into 3 sections: Compressor, Transient, and Equalizer. Clicking on the name of any of these processors will turn the module on or off, allowing you to bypass any processors that you don't need or want. Along the bottom of the Effects section, you'll also see that the meter, pitch knob, and master knob remain available, and the Effects button has changed to the back button, allowing you to get back to the default edit screen of the plugin. Starting with our compressor on the left, our first control is the compressor slam knob, which adds compression to your sound as it's turned up. Turned all the way to the left, the processor does not apply any compression. As the knob is turned to the right, more compression gets applied. The processor applies makeup gain automatically as compression is increased. Beneath the slam knob, you've got 2 toggle switches, one for attack and one for release. These switches control the speed of the compressor with 2 preset options, fast or slow. Experiment with different combinations to find the right compression for your sound. Rounding out the compressor is a mix knob, which controls the blend of the compressed and uncompressed signal. All the way to the left will only play the uncompressed signal, and 100% wet will only play the compressed signal. A setting of 50% here would be an even balance between uncompressed and compressed signal output. Moving to the center of our effects window, we've got our 2 transient shaping controls, a knob for controlling the attack of our kick drum and a knob to control the sustain of our kick drum. Turning either of these knobs to the right will make the characteristic more pronounced, while turning them to the left will reduce those qualities of the sound. And finally, we've got our equalizer, broken out into 3 main sections of its own. Top and center, the equalizer offers a toggle switch allowing you to change the position of the processor's placement in your signal chain. You can position the equalizer pre-compressor or post-compressor. To either side of the toggle switch, you'll find knobs to control the shelving filters. The bottom shelf on the left allows you to boost or cut the low end of your kick drum, while the top shelf on the right allows you to boost or cut the high end. Below these controls, you'll find your mids broken out into 2 categories, low mids and high mids. Each band has a frequency knob, allowing you to set which frequency you want to center the band around. The gain knob allows you to set exactly how much you'd like to boost or cut that frequency in your kick sound. Remember to check your meter anytime you make significant adjustments with these processors, and use your master knob to ensure a decent amount of signal is leaving the plugin. And that's all there is to it. We hope you'll enjoy the Kickforge plugin and find an endless amount of inspiration for new and unique kick sounds for your sessions. To learn more about Kickforge, visit drumforge.com.